Find out what you want to be. Step 4. Everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up.
Welcome to Tales from the Field. My name is Bradley Ball, and it is so good to have you with us. We are back and better than ever. Last week, we had Andrew Nathan, Principal Engineering Manager for the AshTrack core team on the show. We discussed Microsoft's Zero Trust Initiative and how you should fold it into your architecture. And with SQL Bits coming up, then we talked about international travel tips. I hosted Niraj One. Niraj is our host for today. Congratulations, Niraj. Thursday, we had our roundtable and we had amazing content created by you, the community. If you want to interact with the show, sorry, I lost my place for a second. If you want to interact with the show, we've got so many different ways for you to do so. We are streaming live on Twitter under SQL Balls, Niraj Jafari, Tales from the Field, Josh Ludeman. We're over on LinkedIn under SQL Balls, and we are on YouTube under the Tales from the Field show. If you put a comment in place, one of my amazing co-hosts will see those comments. They will add them to the stream, and you will be a part of the show. So please sound off. We'd love to hear from you. Speaking of those amazing co-hosts, I am joined by Andreas Padilla, Josh Ludeman, and we discussed Moliere earlier, and when you put it in an elevator, it goes up. It's not worthy, but you know who is worthy? Your friend and mine, Niraj Jafari. Niraj, you're the host today. You picked the topic. What is our topic?
So it's Bank One. So I was thinking diversity and inclusion as a topic for discussion.
That's a great topic. Absolutely. I love it. And as if it couldn't get any better than that, iAsia Brown is here with us. iAsia is a veteran of the U.S. Air Force and the Marine Corps. Thank you for your service, iAsia. We appreciate you. When I first met iAsia, it was in Azure Fast Track. She was a PM for the Azure Fast Track PG. She is now a producer for Xbox Gaming Studios. Welcome, iAsia. So glad to have you with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for your support. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. We're thrilled to have you here. So Andreas, talk to me, buddy. How was your weekend?
Excellent weekend. We relaxed. We went to the beach, and my mom brought over her package of beef jerky. My mom makes beef jerky, and it's off the charts.
Sharing is caring.
I will send you guys a bag. I just need your address.
I'm looking around going, where's my bag?
I know.
You know, speaking of recipes and your mom, when we talked about, I feel like there's no more your mom joke comment. There's no. When you talked about the chicken stew that she makes, I ordered some of the herbs off of Amazon, and they're actually going to get here tomorrow, and I'm going to make that chicken stew for my family. I cannot wait for it. It looks so good. And I found a couple different recipes. There's a guy who runs a food truck in LA, and he actually posted a restaurant, and I went, okay, come on, LA food truck. Yeah, you know your stuff. And it looks absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to let you know about that. Andres' mom should be on the show.
and Dan said, yeah, we should have a mom show. Everybody bring their moms.
Oh, gosh, no.
Oh, you know what? That'd be a great Mother's Day.
That would be crazy.
That's going to be a good Mother's Day show.
And a new idea was just formed.
I love it.
But
thank
also,
you, Dan.
Brad, you do not buy authentic spices from Amazon. You got to go find you a local farmer or somebody in the community.
So
you're not wrong.
There's actually an online store, there's a spice store behind Pike's Place Market, and they actually have an online store where you can buy from. I need to dig it up, Brad, and get it to you. But yeah.
I would appreciate that, because I was literally looking all over the place, and there's a couple of Hispanic markets nearby that I went to, and I could not find this herb. Now, granted, I also found a couple things that I normally get off Amazon that because I love Peruvian chicken, and there's some specific spices to really make a good Peruvian roasted chicken, but also to make the ají amarillo and the ají verde. Because you got to have the ají amarillo and verde, and you make that sauce. It's so good with so many other things. And I'll tell you, I could just take bottles of that sauce, some really good black beans and rice, and I don't even need the chicken at that point in time. But the Peruvian chicken is some of the best I've ever had. So I found those items, and I'm very excited to be able to make some of that for the family. But this was the one spice I was looking for. I think it's hakiro or something like that. It starts with a G, but it was specific to that recipe. And it was the only place I could find it was on Amazon. So I will let you know how it turns out. You could make it without. Somebody in the comments had said you could make it with cilantro. I don't think that's going to be the same thing though. I don't want to substitute it. Hey Josh, are you frozen or are you just not moving?
Oh, he's just not moving.
Oh, he's muted himself. Well,
it happens once per show. It's fine.
It was bound to happen.
I was looking for the spice place.
Okay.
I was trying to multitask and put that in the stream for others as well.
Yeah, we'll get it after this. No, I appreciate you. So Niraj, you are the host this week. Why don't you give us a reminder of the rules for the show?
So iAsia and me can avoid points to all of you guys. Whoever does the best thing will get the points. I cannot be the host for the next week, and then we cannot disqualify anybody. Can we add new rule? I can be a host next week again.
We still can't disqualify. I mean, I'm just sitting here going, "You sure we can?"
Look, Josh just replaced me with a paddle. But then again, we all knew that was completely possible.
The day was coming.
It was. Automation is going to take care of what I do. All right. So iAsia, I'm just going to come out and say it. You're extraordinary. And we're very, very thankful to have you with us today. I have always loved working with you in Fast Track. And I know I'm not alone. I think I speak for everybody on the show when I say that you were a fantastic PM and we love working with you. And the topic that we have today, diversity and inclusion, is an incredibly important topic. Billy Anders leads the D&I efforts for us in our organization. And we're all very fortunate that we get to be a part of a workplace that revolves around learning, and learning that may push us outside of our comfort zone, may make us look at alternative points of view. And some meetings we've had as an organization, when you were still with us, your viewpoints and your opinions have always been some of the most moving that I've ever heard, and have stayed with me. And so I really feel lucky that we have you to talk to today. Could you please share with us your thoughts about why diversity and inclusion is important, not just as a human being, but also as as product developers, engineers, or a producer over at Xbox?
So I want to first say thank you. I can say without a shadow of a doubt, working with Fast Track for Azure was one of the best experiences of my absolute life. I've worked with some amazing people, but that group kind of is 10 out of 10 all the time. So when anyone, when they ask me, I want to go to Microsoft, they'd be like, what org should I go to? I'm like, CXP. It's just a phenomenal organization to be a part of. And it helped me get to where I am, because I wouldn't be here trying to advocate the same things that I learned in CXP on the gaming side, and bringing, my colleagues along with me for this journey on this side. So I think diversity and inclusion is really important, because you're all engineers. You can respect this. The data engineer manager, Michelle, we went out to dinner one night, and it was us, all the engineers that were here, that were in SoCal. And when we were all getting to sit in the booth at the table, I was like, hey, Michelle, you should probably sit in first, since you're left-handed, and so you won't have to be up again. And she looked at me and she was like, you're the only person that's ever said that. I said, that's because in a room full of right-handed people, nobody cares about the left-handed person. So if you don't have someone working on your products, not to necessarily represent the entire group, but to say, hey, this won't work for this group because this is missing. Or I really love that y'all have a red and blue screen, but I can't see it because I'm colorblind. Or I really love that, there are things that we build not from a subconscious bias, from a negative place, just because if you don't know, you don't know. And if it doesn't affect you, then you won't include it, because you're like, why would I need to include that? I don't have that challenge. I don't have that disability. I don't have that inability. So you leave gaps. So for me, I think it's important to fill the gaps. Like, what are we missing? And sometimes it's so simple. I can be doing something, and I have a 13-year-old. She'll walk by, and I'm like, "Hey, Jalen, what do you think about this?" And she will read me for filth and be like, "It's missing this. It's missing this." And
Yeah.
Would it?
Yeah,
Because kids are like the most honest thing in the world, because they don't see it they don't have any restrictions yet on what is and what isn't. They just think about everything as this vast open space, and I love that. So I think it's really important to consider that people are from different places. People have different experiences. There are people with different language requirements, reading requirements. Everyone is not, even identical twins are different. So how do we build inclusiveness as the blueprint, vice the additive? And I think that's where I'm at on my journey, both personally and professionally, is how do I start with inclusion and accessibility? Because if I can make it accessible, and accessibility is more than just body and mind. It's how do I make things accessible? There's still people in the United States who don't have internet. So how do I create that type of accessibility for the people who can't get it? And yeah, I think once we start developing from that standpoint, because when everyone is thought of or everyone is included, then we naturally start, if we start developing for the ones who are typically disincluded, we'll start gathering everyone else. Like everyone else will naturally just fall in. Hopefully that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I love it. Yeah. So one of the things we were actually talking about this as a family last night, and it's big and it's in the news. It's been coming up for a while, but AirTags, right? Most people are familiar with them. It's an Apple product. You can buy it and you can attach it to something so you don't lose it. My mom and my dad bought me one for my birthday, but their impetus was they had purchased one to put in their suitcase. It almost got lost when they were doing some traveling, but they were able to track it down and show, oh, this is where the location of it is. But the reason it's been in the news is not because it's been so helpful, but because people have been using these to track people or to stalk them. And we had an alert pop up on her iPhone the other day, because they're now popping up alerts because of these situations that says this iTag is not associated with your Apple account, but it has been tracking or near your location. And this was a point in time. Turns out one of her friends has an iTag, an Apple tag in her backpack because she's forgetful. She loses it. But because it was so close to my daughter's backpack, it pinged her phone like that. And so there was some nervousness around the house. And one of the things my wife said to me, and she's not wrong, was she said, I can't believe that they let this technology get produced. And I could immediately see a room, right? Bunch of guys in that room going, oh, you lose your keys, you lose your wallet. You just like to be able to go, can I just find that on my iPhone? And I thought, I wonder if there were any women in the room. Maybe there were, maybe there weren't. But it feels like if you had a woman in the room, they would have said, hey, so if somebody slips this in my purse, are they just going to be able to follow me and track me? And there's just an obvious lack of engineering mindset where if somebody would have raised a concern like that, and you would have had a diverse opinion versus the people in the room, maybe that product would never made it to market, because the capability to misuse it is so great. And that's what we've been seeing. And I think that, it's really core for people to understand that when we talk about diversity and inclusion, so much of it is making sure, like you said, that, the left-handed person isn't left out. I mean, at Disney, they would call it just excellent customer service, going above and beyond to make sure that people all feel included and that they have a great time as part of the experience. And it's really key. If we could be better, why wouldn't we be better?
I wholeheartedly agree with I don't think there was a woman in the room to say this is probably a bad idea, and this is why. Somebody said, this is great, I'll never lose my keys again. And the bad part is someone else was behind a computer going, good, now I don't have to get in my car and sit and chase all day. I can just watch you from my screen. Like for every single piece of innovation, we have to think about the counter innovation. What is the flip side of that? Like there's tech for good, and then there's diabolical tech, and we understand that. So how do we It's a balance, but I do think that these concerns have to be raised. And one thing I do love about where we work was last year, the Gleam community, Gleam turns 30 this year. The Gleam community brought up some concerns, and we, as a group, as a collective group, we raised a concern about a feature, and the feature was put on pause because we had a tangible reason to be like, this isn't a good idea, and this is why. This is why this can be harmful. This is how this can. And and at no point were we met with a, well, no, we're going to do it. No, this is. It was okay. We hear you. Let's see how we can try to engineer this better. And it was like, how do we do better by our customers? Because at the end of the day, you want customers to feel safe. You want customers to feel heard.
Yeah.
Yep. And on a side note, I think we also had diversity and we started disqualifying. We had so many disqualifications for Brad. We had to come up with a rule that
It was definitely not inclusive. No.
Yeah.
Anybody named Brad gets banned. That was about as inclusive as we got.
Yeah, to be fair, when I tried to make it inclusive, that's when we had to stop. Hello, once again, Andreas has the most wonderful work buddies. I was going to say cutest screen award once again goes to Andreas.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give him some points for that.
Oh, I think so. I think so. He definitely deserves it.
I might win. I might win.
I'll give you 1,000 points, but I'm gonna give your partner 2,000 points.
Oh, wow! There we go.
There we
yeah, Andreas brings out the big guns
1,000
once again.
for 1,000 for Andres for being smart enough to include someone so beautiful
Yes.
into the screen with him, and 2,000 points for her for having to get through being on screen with him.
Oh!
Bazinga! Sorry.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw Josh 1,000 points for being spot on.
Thank you.
Josh bringing the shade. Oh,
There was a comment from Daniel, Aisha, for you.
Don't give him an air tag.
Man,
Okay.
is that my engineer, Daniel Taylor?
Yes,
Yep.
it is.
That's your
Oh,
Yep.
Yes,
So-
that is. That's our buddy.
So, Brad, let's start with you today. You started going on the topic. If you have anything else you want to discuss on this topic.
Oh, geez. So I did have something in mind, but literally after I shared the Apple Tag one, my mind blanks. So I think when I look at diversity and inclusion, I keep thinking about different points of view that are different than myself. The one thing I will say is there was a very moving thread. I love to run, right? We've talked about that. I miss it right now. I'm injured. I can't run. There was a thread on social media that was, if you could put a curfew on men, what would you do as women? And women talked about running so much, about how they wouldn't have to be afraid of their route and things of that nature. I remember just reading and I was shocked at that. And my wife used to go running, but I always thought, and again, being a stupid boy, I want to impress her. She's my wife. I love her, like me the best, right? It'd be, look how fast I could run, but I would run ahead of her. And after a while, she didn't want to go out running because she's like, oh, you're just faster. You're just faster. And I looked at that thread and I went to my wife and I said, hey, is this why you don't want to go out running? Because you don't feel safe by yourself. And I'm trying to impress you by running so fast. I'm leaving you and you're there alone. And she goes, yeah. And she had a lot to say on the subject. And I went, oh my God. And so when we do go out, when we have run together in the past, if we're working on a 5K or a 10K together, we'll go out and we'll exercise. And she will often say, because she's used to our neighborhood now and she likes it, she'll go, you can run ahead. And I'll be like, no, because I've never forgotten that point of view. And I need her to know I would rather go slower. I can go out and run on my own later. I can get that exercise in. But I think it's important just to keep in mind that the view sets that we have when we need to include these things in our lives to be able to help change our behaviors. You know, we talk about products, we talk about engineering, and there's a lot of that. It's viewpoint, but chances are if you haven't had a conversation with the people in your life who mean the most to you, they're carrying a viewpoint that is critically important. You might not have that point of view. And to make you a better spouse or make you a better partner or make you a better father or mother or sister or brother, you need to bring those points of view in and see how they can change your perspective. Again, I go back to the phrase, if we can be better, why wouldn't we? But I think it's really important. I know it's not a tech topic, but that's definitely one that stands with me.
Thanks for that. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, yeah, Brad, I agree with you, completely. I think one of the things that has brought it at the forefront to my mind, and even prior to, I think, a lot of the movement that has been going on recently, for me, it was, I have two daughters, both of them interested in either a science or, technology or engineering, a STEM field. My older daughter's, in college and working on right now her bachelor's in nursing and looking at being a physician's assistant. My younger daughter, very interested in engineering as a discipline, not really sure where to go in there. But for them, not only from that standpoint of the STEM and really not being recognized and it being, really a boys club sort of thing. And, even with a couple of the boys walking up to my middle schooler when she started at the, in the technology course in 8th grade, and they're like, well, what are you doing here? They were like shocked that she was there. She's like, because I'm going to kick butt at this. That's why. And she is, of course she is. But also on more of a personal side and being, having my eyes opened recently, whether it be with my own language and stop saying you guys and being more inclusive with, drawing on my southern home here in Florida and using y'all a lot. That's been my fallback. Folks doesn't always work, but like any good southerner, you throw in a y'all and it just works. It just flows. From that standpoint, but also as a parent of a college freshman daughter and really opening, my eyes to like, your specific conversation with running and your wife. My daughter walking at night on campus calls either my wife or I every time she has her night class when she's walking back to her dorm. She put together her own, and I applaud her for this, her own little kit for her and her roommates for going out to, clubs at night on the weekend, it's including little toppers to go over their drink cups of water that with a straw hole in it. And it's just elastic and plastic so that if someone tries to spike their drink, it's not going to go in because there's a top on the cup, and thinking about that. And sorry to hear this, but the fingernail polish company that you could paint fingernail polish on your fingernails and dip it in your drink and it would detect, agents or, like GHB or anything like that in your drink, it would change colors. I say, unfortunately, they did go out of business during COVID, but it was an idea I was really excited about that unfortunately didn't make it. But for me, that's, level playing field and an inclusive atmosphere. Those are, that's where just for me, I'm trying to start my journey at the base to build a good base and then hopefully go up from there.
Yeah, nice thought. And I like the idea. I like that cover thing that she came up with.
And Dan, once again, thank you for your allyship, iAsia. Absolutely. Thank you for the allyship.
Before Andreas goes next, Aisha had a question. She just pinged me up. So Aisha, go ahead.
So I love y'all. And I was listening to Josh, but I was staring at Andres, and it came to me that whenever you all talk, you talk from the lens of men who are looking out for the women in their life, men who are looking out for their daughters, men looking out for the people they love. Y'all realize y'all get discriminated against too. You get left out. Some of the most critical times from my perspective, and I'm not a man, of your life is when y'all become fathers and you think about the safety of your child, but y'all go right back to work and don't really get to bond. You don't really get to be there. You don't really get to be present. And it's rarely it's rarely talked about because it's what's expected of you. But there are men who lose their wives, they're the mothers of their children, on the same table that baby comes into life. But you turn around, put a band-aid on it, and go back to work. Like, how are you all advocating for the things that you need to make that transition in your life? Because that's something that I rarely see men at the forefront. And I'm just watching Andres just be dad of the year, just like, all right, you want to sit here? We're gonna sit and play. Like, it's not about when they get older, it's from like right now. What foundation are you setting for yourself to be like as inclusive, including yourself? Because you're going to do it for your daughter, you're going to do it for the women in your lives, the people you love in your lives, but like, how do you do it for you? How do you lead with you?
That's a great question, Andreas. I know you've got to go. Or you still have a turn to go. I've got an answer I definitely want to give, but I don't want to cut you off. Do you want to respond first?
Let's go Andreas first, and then probably we can circle back on four of us.
Everything that I just say, man, thank you for giving us the dads that are in our position, which is all four of us here, that recognition that we're juggling daughters, sons, and our roles have shifted, and there's sometimes a mound to climb in that. Not that we don't have tons of advantages, because I want to get to some things that I want to talk about: unconscious bias and the fact that the system is rigged towards people who have it way harder than us. But it is, our roles have shifted in the sense now that we have to take care of these little girls and put them first. So I appreciate that tons, iAsia. I don't know, Brad, if you wanted to comment on that before I jump into my section and what I want to say about diversity.
You're not wrong at all. So I've got a good friend, Jorge Seguera. Jorge was at Microsoft for about 7 years. He actually recruited me to Microsoft. And Jorge, he and his family found themselves in the position where his wife was making a great income, and he could stay home and he could be with their kids while they're little. And he's got 2 little girls and he's got a little boy, and he's doing it. I followed a very non-traditional route in my fatherhood, where I was married. My wife left when my boys were both very little, and I had to, it shattered. I didn't realize, I thought myself an evolved man, but it shattered my illusion of what I thought a father was, because I was kissing boo-boos. I was, taking people to daycare. I was setting up play dates. I was getting everybody ready for picture day. And Jorge and I were talking recently, and we were doing normal guy platitudes, but guys die because we don't talk, because we aren't taught to have open relationships like women do. And we started talking about, and I said to him, I said, buddy, who do you talk to about your parenting stuff? Because I said, I've been in this unique position where I had to be mom and dad. I had to break my gender barrier role so that way I could love these boys and bring them up the way they needed to. And it made me so much better of a man and as a father. And we discussed it, and we've actually set up like a weekly call, and we're reading books. We're talking with one another just about life and about kids. But we're reading Man Enough by Justin Baroni, Undefining My Masculinum. So,
That's a good book.
I'm only on chapter 2, but I've been blown away by a lot of the topics that he has touched on. But he had the realization as I was talking to him. Jorge goes, "Oh my God, you're right. You are in the position I'm in." And I was like, we gotta do a better job at talking more, because you need to have women do a great job of supporting one another. Everybody knows if a girl needs to go out for a girl night, like my wife occasionally, she'll be like, I need to go out and I need to do this. And I'm like, yep, I got the kids. Go for it. Have fun. Because you got to recharge. And I was like, buddy, you got to have somebody to be able to do the same thing for you. And so I think you're right. You were talking about it from a paternity point of view, but you're right. My kids are older. I had to save up vacation so I could take off when William was born. And his lung collapsed. He was in the neonatal intensive care unit. His mom almost bled out. That exact situation, I remember this moment of horror crossing my mind, where I realized Zachary was 11 months old. My folks and my family were up for his first Christmas, and I had the realization I might have to go home alone and explain what happened, and that might be my life. And it's a tough spot. You're not wrong, and then you get the urge to be around those babies and be with them and protect them and love them so much. But yeah, you just got to peel that off and go back to work. It's tough. And sorry, I talked a lot. So Andreas, let you go, buddy.
I'm gonna
No, you
correct you
actually
though.
did me a favor. I was trying to get all of to go get her iPad. So you bought me some time there. I appreciate it, buddy. Okay, so I have some thought. I want to unpack a couple of things. Some things that iAsia mentioned, that Brad mentioned. One about our unconscious bias. Two about self-improvement. But before I get there, there's a great video that I put in our chat, Raj or Josh, if you can put in there. And this really hit home to me. I saw this video last over the summer, and it's a 5-minute video, and it's about why diversity is so important in an organization. And in that video, they unpack they give a business case, a geopolitical case, and the human case for diversity and inclusion, and how important it is. If you look at the video, they talk about let's take a look at these stats. The annual spending power of women globally is 43 trillion dollars. The annual global spending power of the LGBTQ community, 3 trillion. Black and African Americans here in the United States spending power, 1.3 trillion. Hispanics and Latinx, 1.7 trillion. And there's over 1 billion people worldwide with disabilities. There's a business case why we want to. It's just good business. If we look at it, that's one lens. The other lens is that organizations that incorporate more diverse culture, they reduce for companies that don't include diversity and inclusion into their culture, they have reduced intelligence and thought and reasoning. They have there's more increased self-defeating behavior, reduced pro-social behavior within the company. There's increased defensive amongst the employees. And it decreases well-being overall. So people are just not happy when you don't have diversity and inclusion. And now I'll make my last case for why this is so important. The system's rigged. There's an unconscious bias that we all grow up with along the way. And we all have to do a better job of becoming and working at this and changing our inherent behaviors that we have. And I look back at myself and how I was in the 20s and 30s, and what I've, the exposure I've had at Microsoft has completely made me think of like, man, I can't believe I was thinking like that back then, in my 20s and 30s, because you're born with that and you think it's okay to say this. It's just a joke. It's but it's not. It's not okay to say this. And I think we do a good job, and other corporations are catching up, and they're doing a great job of infusing into their culture these types of talks, the opening up to harder discussions. And at the end, there's people out there that start 10 feet behind the starting line. So watch that video. It will really just hit you home for 5 minutes of your time. It's worth it. That's my 2 cents.
I love that. I love that. I absolutely. And I was when Bradley was talking, I took note of something he said. He said, I have to be mom and dad. You don't. There's no role for mom and dad. You just have to parent.
Parent. Yep.
Like it's a whole sentence, parent. Like that's it. There's not a mom responsibility bucket and a dad responsibility bucket. It's just parent. That's no matter what.
You're right. And part of that was definitely what I had to overcome, because I didn't think I had these preconceived notions, but all of a sudden I found myself in positions where God bless my dad. I love him a lot. He's a great dad. He worked like 120 hours a week. He was a restaurant manager. He was in there when the trucks were coming to load things on super early in the morning. He was there through the dinner shift. I saw him a ton on vacation. And he was like the head guy. So when somebody was sick, he was filling in. If they were down grill cooks, he was on the line cooking. If one of his managers couldn't be there, he had to fill in for them. And so I love him to death, but my concept of what Dad did growing up was Dad worked really hard, and like I said, it made me a better man. And I guess the way I should phrase it is, it made me a better human being because I had to carry an empathy and a love, and let down my own walls and barriers in a way that I didn't realize that I had to do. And it was the most rewarding experience I've ever had before in my life.
Yeah, and so the reason I kind of put up a hand, Brad, because I want to jump in after you, is I don't want this to be a minefield to fall into. I understand, time we're at and stuff with the show, but it is a good thing to think about parting, as after the show for folks to think about. And Dan brings up a great one. Does anyone else get frustrated, being called woke when you just want to be inclusive? And I saw that, and that rang for me because I've had that, and my response to folks who have said that is like, yeah, okay, I'm woke, but it's better than being, basically asleep to these issues and to think that they aren't happening. So yes, that's how I've answered it, just pushing back and going, well, then it's better than basically being in, a position of just thinking, yeah, no, that's not a thing. Everything's great. No, it's not. This is not the fairy tale ending, of a story or a movie or anything like that. This is real life, and it's still there.
Yeah, being woke is better than being morally broke.
I love y'all.
I like that one too.
I think we all ended up exactly where we needed to be with the type of leader that could be like, hey, just so you know, I'm going to pause operations today and have you all educate yourselves. I encourage you to educate yourself. I'm going to create space for you to educate yourself. Like, I love where we all ended up in that space and time, because wherever we go, that's going to be something we carry with us.
Yep.
Agree.
Yep.
Nice talks. Let me just tally up. I mean, Brad, Josh, you both were equal points, just because both of you brought up family, which is definitely something that you linked it up, and you were really good at extending out Ayesha's question. But overall, I mean, Andreas just bringing a daughter into the whole show, killed the whole thing. Plus, he had stats. He was well
Stats and a video.
Yeah.
And the video he had. So
Yeah.
definitely, I would say Andreas blew you both up. Just with just bringing a daughter in the picture, extra points. Yeah.
I was going to say there's a point in time we were talking. I just saw that cute little punum sitting there on the face, right there on the screen. I was like, he wins. I don't even care.
The topic was diversity and inclusion. He brought the inclusion.
Inclusion.
Yeah. So what I've heard is it's okay to bring props into Bride, so to get additional points.
You already have it.
Yeah, I'm gonna totally have one of my daughters like skip class or skip school, maybe in one of the next episodes, that I can pull them in. I don't know if a 19-year-old sitting on my lap or a 13-year-old is really going to get more votes, but I'm willing to give it a try.
Get a goldfish.
I want the win, so I'm going to bring in my kids.
I agree with Andreas.
I think
you definitely said it all, brother.
Josh already has. You have a way to win, right? You just bring in somebody else to take over on you, and you win every time. So
well, yeah, I was going to say I brought in Jess Schultz and Ringer.
Yeah.
Dan hits it again. Great tales from show Tales from the Field, and iAsia. We are more than just technology. We are people. Absolutely agree.
Yes.
All right. So, hey, congratulations to Andreas. I guess it's time for us to wrap some of this up. We went a little long, but I think it was well worth it. Thank you for everybody who hung with us. Christmas. Remember, we've got a Christmas in February. We moved our Elfter show, so everybody.
Wake up, really going right.
That's going to be on February 21st. And that's okay. We can cue in the music a little bit. I know it came in hot. It always does that whenever we unpause it. Come on, Streamster, get the music right. StreamYard, I mean, sorry. Andreas is the winner. Congratulations to Andreas. Way to go, buddy. If you're out there, if you have content that you are producing for the Azure community, we want to hear from you. We've got our community roundtable on Thursday, and we would love nothing more than to feature your content. Tomorrow, we are dropping our next MS Tech Bits. Niraj and Andreas have tips and tricks for migrating ADLS Gen 1 to ADLS Gen 2. I edited this video. I got to watch it. It's amazing. I can't wait for all of you to see it. Reminder, Thursday, we have our roundtable. SQL Bits, remember, largest European Azure Data Conference in the world is coming up. I'm going to be there with Patrick LeBlanc. I've got 2 different sessions. I'm going to be helping out with some of the pre-cons that the SQL PG is doing and the Azure Snaps PG. We've got our pre-con at SQL Saturday Jacksonville, myself, Niraj, and Dan. And then we got an FTI Live. Andreas, you've got an FTI Live coming up in March, right?
March 6th, ML Ops end-to-end. I'm doing it with our good friend Miralam. We're going to go, OpenAI is taking over the world apparently. So we're going to show you how to get into ML Ops, what that end-to-end pipeline looks at, how to retrain models, 6 o'clock Eastern time. We'll pass the link on the show. Hope to see you there.
Oh, I love it.
And just can your OpenAI give winning numbers for the lotto?
My wife asked that yesterday, and I said,
I need that.
Why not? Yeah,
I need some of that in my life. We can AI predictions for lottery. Let's make it happen.
Sign me up.
All right. Anything else I'm forgetting, or are we good to go?
No, great to see you, Asia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, iAsia. iAsia Brown, Xbox producer. Thank you so much for being here and joining us today. Everyone, take care. Be good to one another. We'll see you on Thursday.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good